everybody, Sandy Clarkson here with you today, sharing a process video for a layout that I've created with the June limited edition kit for My Creative Scrapbook. I've introduced you to this kit in other videos. This is featured around the Flower Emporium collection from 49 in Market and was designed by Vicki Boutin. There are some other wonderful elements in the kit, like a cut file. There's a stencil that is also a Vicki Boutin, and some flowers from Little Birdie, and some other things like that in the kit. But anyway, I'm finishing up the kit here with a pretty simple layout, documenting a day that the granddaughters and a couple of us went to celebrate one of their graduations, and we went to the Gaylord Texan in Grapevine, and we had lunch for them at a Mexican food restaurant there. And so I've kind of gone with the fiesta theme on this layout and used that little chipboard piece that says hey, and then it says love that smile. But I'm also using the sketch that's included in the kit, and I'm only putting one of these horizontal pieces toward the bottom, where in the sketch I believe there's two. But I wanted to add that bit of branding strip because it had a little bit of blue, and I thought that would tie in nicely with the multicolored hay that I'm going to be using for my title. Also, I think I had thought about adding in some flowers that were a mix and had a little bit of blue in those. And also I had a little bit of a year dilemma, and I thought I might have to use a 2 that was in that blue color. So anyway, that's kind of why I had planned out that piece of branding strip there. So anyway, I've kind of positioned my photos a little different from the sketch, but mostly the same, and I've got those glued together so they won't shift around, and decided I want to elevate them just a little bit because I know I'm going to be tucking some tags and florals in behind, so I just wanted to do a little bit of elevation there. And so I just adhering that with my glue, and then I'm going to position it and use my T-square to, make sure everything is in alignment. I should have used my 0 ruler so I could have seen the dead center, but I played around with this quite a bit, so I had a good idea of where it was going to go. And there's that cute little chipboard piece that's from 49 Market's Floral Emporium, and so I thought that was just kind of a fiesta look, and that it would work well with us, having had lunch at the Mexican food restaurants. And there's how I composed my 2012 date. I used a little small 2 that was from the laser cut. The tag itself was from the laser cuts. And then also the leaves were from the laser cuts. And so I got some good use out of those. I wanted to use the little canister that had honey on there, because at the end of our meal we had sopapillas and honey as our dessert item, and the presentation for that was lovely. It was in a like a martini glass, and it was just kind of fun. Anyway, I'm trying my best to use that large orange mum, and I do ultimately use it, but not right away. I actually add extra video footage at the end to show me using that. But I just played around with my cluster, even though I pretty much had it figured out how I wanted it. But I knew it was going to be on camera and adhering, so I'm just checking again to make sure everything's right about where I want it. And I decided to use some foam squares to adhere the flowers and, elevate them just a little bit and give them some dimension that way. So I'm going to do that, and I am adding some yellow and some, hot pink magenta there, but I thought the hot pink would go really well with that title, as I think I already mentioned. And I also just wanted to use that little cluster of, yellow and white because they were just really pretty. And I knew this was my last design team layout with the kit, so I wanted to use them. I thought they matched the color family nicely, and it would be a little bit more like a multicolored bouquet, if you will. So anyway, here I go again. I'm going to tuck this piece in, and I'm just going to kind of nestle it under the orange flower. And then, I kept going back and forth about adding the hot pink on above, placing it on the photo or whether to go underneath. And I didn't really want to cover up the photo if I could help it, right there, because I knew I'd be putting my title or my year title up near that area. And then I love the little honey can. I could have put some flowers in there, so that might be something you'd want to do. You could take an X-Acto knife and do a little slit to add in any kind of flower and just, stick it in there before you adhere it to your paper. But again, I'm using some foam squares to elevate the little honey pot, I'm going to call it. Thought that was an interesting little piece to go on here, this rather plain layout. I love the little greenery bits that I'm going to be adding in here in just a moment. As I said, those were laser cut pieces. They're very delicate, of course, and they also are kind of spotted like some I've used in other projects, but these were just exceptionally pretty, I thought, and I wanted to kind of let some of the leaves fall across the photo just a little bit. I thought they would, drape and look kind of nice like that. And then the smaller ones, I wasn't quite sure how that was going to go, but I wanted to get that in there and played around with some about where that was going to go. And I did have a little paper error there, so it worked out that the greenery kind of covered where there was kind of a little mar on the paper where I moved my honey pot after adhering it. So anyway, I need to get my florals down and to get the title piece down. And that was one reason I lowered the one photo, because I knew I was going to be using that one, and I didn't want the title to be on anybody's face or anything, as I didn't have a clear area on the photo where I could really do that. So that's why I kind of put the hot title piece up above. But there I get the flowers down, and that way I can kind of center the title when I get ready. Right there you see me looking through my little glitter container, but I was wanting another piece of greenery to add in with those two florals on the right, and I do finally find a piece and add in a yellow flower and a greenery piece that I might do off camera, but I do add those in at the end. So I was kind of happy that I got some greenery in there. Didn't have another one exactly to match, but I did have some of the single ones, which there's plenty of greenery in the kit to use. That tag and the other one, as I said before, were from the laser kit, and they're nice little pieces. I like the little jute, the jute twine that's supposed to represent. And here I am with my funky little year title, but it actually turned out kind of cute, I thought. It seems like only yesterday that we went, and it's been 13 years. That's kind of hard to believe. But anyway, I used 2 foam squares right there just to have a resting spot for that one corner, so I won't get any, folding in of my embellishment. And then I raise that up so I can make sure that it's in alignment with, or pleases my eye when I lift it up anyway. I want to add in that little chipboard scallop piece because I think this is the last one I haven't used, and it is a perfect match, and so I'm just going to put it below the right-hand picture because there's already plenty of stuff around the left-hand picture, so I'm just going to put it over there. So I'm really getting near the end. I do add on another little chipboard title, and it's too small for me to see, but it's something about, living with your passion. And I wanted to drop it down just a little bit, but not too much, because I want it to be part of the main focal cluster and don't want to go too far down with it. And then I just align it with the paper that's right up above it that I've already measured. And so I just put that right there. And then I come in with a couple more pieces and I'm just about done, but I want to add a butterfly, and then I wanted to add a bumblebee, I thought, or another butterfly. So I like the orange one. I like the size of it. The color works, but I did consider some others that were in the kit. I really liked how many butterflies we had to choose from. But I go ahead and put that one on a foam square and put it right there. And then the bumblebee was a little bit big, I thought. And I thought there was another bumblebee that was smaller. And it turns out that there is. So that's ultimately what I use up there in the upper left. I think I'm digging around in my tray right there. And that is the smaller one, and I think the scale of it just works nicer, but it's just whatever pleases your eye. So do you, as Tim Holtz says. So now I'm just going to do some splattering with some black paint from Shimmers. It's called Night Moves, and I think I used it on my last project. And I'm just going to splatter that around after I cover my photo. And in the beginning, I get some larger droplets, which are really nice. I was kind of hoping I'd get some larger ones when I splatter down below, but I didn't. Probably if I would have kept my nozzle in there a while, then I could have come back and got a little bit larger droplet, if you will. And then I think I'm done, but then after I stop recording, I decide I want to try to find a way to mimic that circular background that's on the sketch. And so I tried out a couple of those florals that I'd been playing around with, and I decided to tuck that one in. That's kind of multicolored, and then I'm sticking that big one in there, and I thought that'll give me the illusion of that circular area that we see on the sketch. So I was pleased. I do find a floral to tuck in the bottom, but apparently I did that off camera. You can see I've added in the yellow flower and the greenery on the right. And so I want to splatter a little bit more because I changed where the top of my focal point was. And nope, still no big droplets, but that's okay. I'm going to have details below in the description box about how you can order a kit. Hopefully you can also find information there about how to subscribe. And here's my finished project, and I'm going to be sharing some close-ups. If you like what you saw in the video today, I hope you'll like or subscribe. That way you can get more of my content in your feed. I appreciate you coming by today, and I always look forward to watching for your comments. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.